this. Let's add a file. Done. Wait, how come I cannot see anything? Okay. Webcam capture. All right, so this should work, hopefully. But this one is gonna be on the left hand side. And wait a second. Did I cancel the? This one should be. Okay. No. Right and left. Okay. So first thing is you must provide evidence. So like I'm trying to keep on saying this. Like if you're a lawyer and if you say Mr. Ye killed somebody, you have to provide evidence. Says okay, Mr. Ye is at a crime scene at this time, and he has a motive, and he has a murder weapon, right? So those of you guys know O.J. Simpson, he was proving not guilty is because his glove doesn't fit, and that's it. That's how do you prove him not guilty? So you had to provide a proof. And what I'm saying is this proof of a number that's very, very important. So let's say V of 5, right? And V prime of 5, like this. And you have to provide a number because you cannot say both positive. You must provide a number. Is this okay? And you must provide a subject. I'm telling you, if you don't provide that on Friday, I cannot give you a point. You have to say V of 5 is equal to 1.425. You have to say B prime of 5 is equal to A of 5 is equal to 5.072. And if you don't write that, guess what? I cannot give you a point. It's not because I don't like you. It's because that's how rubric is working. Okay, that's what AP exam is going to look at. They not ask you to write essays, so you had to write down the statement that you have to write. So Carter, make sure you go back and redo all of them. Make sure what to write down. It's not because you don't know the stuff, it's you don't know what to write down. Now they are both positive, then say speed up. Average velocity, then you're just gonna type in 1/3, but you have to write down this though. So if you don't write down this, just write down negative 1.571, you also don't get a point. You have to write down who killed somebody. Mr. Ye killed somebody here. When? Right? You have to address that. And that's how rubric works. So you have to say who equal to what. Does that make sense? And then I'll just do int. If you guys know how to take integration, it's 1 to 4 here. And this is a v of t. Now, on your calculus section, v of x, sorry, v of x dx, it's going to be negative 1.571. And that's how you get a number. Any questions so far? Samantha, do you have questions?
No.
Okay. Yes.
Can we use the average value because we're finding the average of velocity?
Yes. Because you think about it, if I integrate this, right, I'm going to get s of t, right? It's going to be s of 4 minus s of 1 all over 4 minus 1. Same thing. So if you ever say average of something, you're going to take integration and divide it by the amount. And we will come back to talk about that with the fishes, okay, because the same situations.
Wait, Mr. Ye, how do you do that in school?
INT. You gotta get a calculator out and type in INT, and they will show you upper bound and lower bound. So you gotta try it. You cannot say I don't get it, because that's the worst part. If you just say I don't get it, you haven't tried. You gotta learn how to fail at something. Okay, so for the next one, it's actually fairly easy because, but you do need to write down v of 4 minus v of 2 over 4 minus 2. And because v of 4, they can evaluate for you. See that v of 4, they automatically evaluate for it. They plug in 4 into the function. Minus v of 2, and then divided by 2. And that's it. Negative 0.949. And that's how I get 0.940. Now, if you just write down 0.950, I'm going to say this again. On the test, you cannot just write down 0.950. If you don't have a subject is equal to this, I'm going to say you don't deserve any point and don't blame me on Friday. I remember Ethan Sorrow last 2 years ago in my AB class. He usually scored 90. I gave him a 10 on this test. I will have no feeling, no emotion towards you because I care about you. So you must follow the rubrics. That's how you get the point. If you look at Josephine's work, that work is just right. You have to show enough things. So Cameron, you gotta look at what Josephine did. Yes. Which one I write down positive? Oh, my fault. Okay, let me go back and change that. Does that make sense? Keep on going. The question D is asking total displacement. Total displacement is without absolute value. You see here is without value, but it's 1 to 5. The other one's 0 to 5. So you gotta pay attention to domain. A lot of people don't pay attention to domain because at the one question says 1 to 5, one question says 0 to 5. This is how they trick you. But this one is a V of t, so just type in integration. I mean, I will even like copy this because I'm just gonna be too lazy, and I can paste it, and I'm gonna be 1 to 5, and then I'm gonna get that. Does that make sense? Now I'm gonna go to the next one. So I'm gonna copy again. I'm lazy. Again, just type in 0 and the v of x, and this one just has to be absolute value because of total distance. And that's it. See how fast I finish multiple parts. You're gonna be like so many parts, but it doesn't take long to finish. You just need to know what to write down in this. So I finish all the way to E. Always absolute value because you don't care about which direction you're going. You're counting the step rather than you like. So total displacement, if you take 4 steps forward, 3 steps back, I only look at the difference. But the total distance, then I don't care which direction I hit because I'm not going to count as negative 3 step. I'm going to count as positive 3 step. That's why you absolute value velocity. Nola, do you understand? Understand everything so far? Look, if you guys are bad at math, some of you guys are, and I don't care if you're bad. I just care about if you understand each part. Max, do you understand? Are you sure? Okay, because those are part you don't need to use math. The calculator will do all the calculator for you. Just have to press the right key, and you have to write down the right stuff. Okay, Carter, make sure you write down the right stuff. Don't blame me if I take points off. I care about you. That's why I will take points off. If I don't care about you, that's okay, whatever. But that's not gonna help you. Okay, so here is gonna be. Do you understand that this one all the way to E? Now let's go to F. F is asking, find the time when speed is equal to 8. So speed is equal to what? Absolute value of velocity, right? So I'm going to do absolute value of v of x. Why I do absolute value? Because they are different graph. See, all the negative part becomes positive. Do you see that? So I'm going to close this part. That becomes only the positive region, right? Now, what you have to write down is absolute value v of t is equal to 8. You have to write down that. And then you're going to say, oh, let me set the function y equal to 8. And you're going to see all this intersection between 0 to 12 is going to be your points. 1, 2, 3. So those are the 3 values. 0.8.958, t equal to 10.078, t equal to 11.744. Do you see how that works? I graph absolute value v of t and I graph a. And I look for the intersections. You follow me so far? Yes.
Is it okay if instead of that I put VT equals plus or minus 8?
yes, it's fine. Because that's the definition of absolute value. You can equal to plus a and negative a. But it's preferred to write down absolute value v of t is equal to 8.
Okay, thank you.
Because that one, I will tell you, like me, I understand where you come from, but I will tell you, like a lot of grader over there is actually not good at math. Because I have seen people who are not good at math, and they were grader. So if they grade you wrong based on that, then that's bad. But I know what absolute value means, so a lot of times people don't know that. And that happened in math competitions too. Because one of the competition question over the weekend, and all the people got -1, the answer is +1. And so they went through 3 teachers, 2 teachers that got it wrong, and only 1 teacher got it right. So they went to 3 teachers, 2 teachers got it wrong, and 1 teacher got it right. The teacher got it right is the right answer. So it doesn't mean that the people who grade your test, they supposed to be good at math, but they don't. America, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust any teacher out here besides Ollie. I think he's trustworthy as far as the math goes. And for us, the things, other things, I don't know. I'm not saying I don't trust them. It's I don't know them enough to trust them. So that's the things I will say. Kenji is trustable. He's actually I think in a way he's more talented in math than me. I'm stupid. I'm gonna be the first person to tell you I'm stupid. But Kenji are smarter than me in that perspective. But I am a better teacher. That just for sure. But he knows more than me. And so is Cooper. Cooper know way more shit than me. And then, but am I gonna say I'm better teacher than Cooper? Probably no. But I will say I try harder than Cooper. I will not leave at 2:30. I will stay here till 4:30. So that's a main difference. But I think he definitely know way more stuff than me. So
Okay.
keep that way. I think that she's really nice. I think she's really nice, but I think she's too lenient on the kids. She's not helping kids learn. And that's probably my directly feedback, I will say. I think a lot of people cheat in her class and using ChatGPTs, and I don't agree with that. Davis, Miss Davis. I think Jacob Rosnick says I cheat through the whole test. Yeah, and I don't respect that, but anyway. So that's just me. So I hear, if you pay attention, we're gonna go back to the graph here. I'm gonna go to this graph here because I am paying attention. It's going from this point to this point. Do you guys see that? Because from this point to this point is what? Positive velocity, negative slope. Because you compare with the velocity and acceleration. Is that okay? So this is a velocity graph, right? And then from this peak, because they only address the peak on the decimal, so they only pick the peak points. So if you take the peak point to here, that is a positive velocity because they are above x-axis, but slope is negative. So that means the acceleration is negative. So positive and negative, that's why they are slowing down. And now we'll see that here too. Again, here to here is also slowing down here too, because, oh, sorry. Yeah, so this is negative velocity, right, below x-axis, but positive slope. So they are opposite sign. Velocity, acceleration is opposite sign. So that's why your next interval is here. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so now Jill on first period does tell people a trick. The trick is what he learned in physics. He says, when the velocity going toward x-axis, that's slowing down. When it going away, it's actually speeding up. Let's see that theory is true or not. Is this point going toward x-axis? See this going toward x-axis? is a positive velocity, negative slope. So that's actually slowing down. And same thing as this, going toward x-axis, this way is slowing down. Going away x-axis is speeding up. So that's another way to tell you that, but without knowing. But I'd rather you understand slope of velocity is the acceleration. So you can compare a sign. That's a better way to know it. That's for me. But I thought his trick is pretty cool. It actually works. So do you understand this part? So that's why I get all those intervals. Now, H. Look at H graph. The H says, find the position when particle reach furthest right. Now, Alex, how do I find the furthest right? Because I know you pay attention on your computer. How do I find the furthest right? H. Yeah, that's why I asked you, because you pay attention on your computer.
Yes.
Furthest right.
Furthest right. Take where it's going from positive to negative. So it's going positive to negative and the endpoints.
You do what?
Values and then whichever ones.
How do you find a value though? You cannot find a value that way. You cannot plug
Oh,
in.
okay.
Yes,
3 plus.
the initial conditions. So if you see here, if you realize, thank you, that's good. So why did you choose? I choose the 0 and 12, right? Because that's endpoint. Because up furthest right is same thing as absolute maximum, right? Now some people says, why do I not using absolute value here for this part? Because I don't want to display, I don't want a total distance. I want a displacement. So I want an initial condition, which is -3, plus the displacement between 0 to 1.6. Why is that? Because I want to know what is this integration right here in this small area, right here, from here to here. Because that's how much distance is changing. Plus -3, that's going to be -164. Now, I'm going to do it again for this point because that's how they cross. Because up furthest right is like maximum. So it has to pay attention where they cross. So 7.854 is another one. I'll take an integration from -3 plus 0 to 7.854. V of t dt 4.853. So this is absolute maximum. Because you did to 12, it's going to be -8.59. And how do I do that? I can just do type in here -3 plus integration int 0 to 1.682, and then v of t, v of x, dx, right? Like this. And now that's how I get this. And now all I gotta do is change the top of the number. So that's why I think this one's easier to use than the TI. Because you don't have to retype again. There's a way to not to do it at TI as well, but a lot of people don't know that. So then I can get 4.853, which is that's the next value, and I can do 12, and I get another value. Any question about this one?
How do you know what points to use?
How do I know what point do I use? Endpoint first, 0 and 12,
Yeah.
because the question says 0 to 12.
Yeah.
And then I want to, since it's furthest right, that means absolute maximum, or you have to pick a relative maximum. Relative maximum is how they cross when f prime x went from positive to negative. So this point and this point, not this point, because this is relative minimal, because crossing from negative to positive. Yes,
Why does that have to be a maximum?
because furthest right. Yes, so the next question is furthest left, so therefore it's going to be like right here. Which is I did 0, 0.42, and 9. Why do I do 9? Because the question says 9 is an endpoint. Yeah, I pay attention now the domain. Very, very important that student pay attention to domain. If you read through the question, pay attention what is to what. You have to understand that. So that's how I got the furthest left there. Furthest negative. Sorry, this is negative. Negative 7.72. That's your furthest left. And that's how you get all the parts. Now, this take account of all the possibility of the questions. I mean, there is no other way they can answer any. I mean, they can ask two particle situation, but we'll get to that end of the year because I don't want to do two particle right now. I just want to focus on one single particle. Now, BC test is exactly the same, except they have two dimensions. They have x direction and y direction, which is, in order to find the speed, you had to find the Pythagorean identity of that, and that's it. That's the only thing I would explain to BC kids. So BC test is not much harder than this one. How many students still have questions? Please let me know right now. Okay. All right, so Samantha, do you get it? Yeah, please go back and try it. Oh, great. It's stuck again. Let's try this.
Porque tiene, por eso, como esto es PowerShell, tiene que buscarlo Entonces, aquí, este es uno porque la de...
All right, so now we're going to talk about the next question, which is the fish questions. Yesterday we dealt with fish questions, so we're going to deal with fish question again. So I'm going to post the fish questions right here, which is right here. So you guys already did this yesterday. Now, yesterday, the notes that you missed is very little. So basically, the notes is going to be velocity. Is equal to rate, right? Rate is how fast I'm traveling. So let's say the unit of the velocity is equal to meter per second. Does that make sense? And so in this particular case, if you read through the question, do you see they say fish entering the lake at a rate modeling by E of t of 20 plus 15 sine of pi of t over 6. That is the rate. That's the velocity of fish entering the lake. So in terms of this particular question, this will be fish over hours, right? Because that's the units according to this question, 2019. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So if I integrate it, that's gonna be, so integrate, that's gonna be fish is equal to, well, if I integrate meter per second, what am I gonna get? What? Fish. Right, it's fish, but what's the integration meter per second? Meters, because that's how much distance is changing, right? And that's equal to the positions. Is that okay? And that's the position. Now, what happens if I take a derivative? If I take a derivative, then I'm gonna get acceleration, right? So acceleration, that's equal to, what's the derivative of meter per second? Meter per second squared. In this case, it's gonna be fish per hour squared. Does that make sense? And that's how you're gonna pay attention to the unit. This is very, very important. You got it? No, and then you say, well, this question is almost exactly the same. Let's look at this question. They say, how many fish entering the lake? Well, I'm gonna do integration of, in this case, of e of t dt. Now, here's the bad part. I'm gonna talk about why is the bad part. Because yesterday, some of you guys already found a mistake. Did we talk about that mistake? Okay, so why do I integration of this? This is the rate equations, right? And integration with this between 0 to 5, right? This is among the fish entering the lake. Is that okay? Do you guys understand that? Okay, but here's the thing. When we type in on decimals, we're gonna say, oh yeah, I'm gonna save this one. So that's gonna be a kinematic. Save. But I'm gonna put a new graph. So what was the graph on this one? What is E of t here? What is E of t? Okay. 20 plus 15. 20 plus 15. Sine of what?
I t over 6.
T over 6.
Just go back.
Like this.
Yeah.
That looks
I don't know why is this.
No, T of E. Yeah, change the S.
So we're gonna do E to
Capitalize the E.
x, and this is x. Okay, so now the problem is if I do integration, right? I think they want a 0 to 5. Yeah, I'm gonna show you what happened here in a second. dx. So you got 33.97. It's a wrong answer. It's supposed to be 153 because the calculator has recognized that's E times x. It's 2.718 times x. So that's not correct. So I rather type in says f here, and I'll change to f or capitalize whatever. You should get 153. So that's why those small things that you have to pay attention. 153, 154 fish. I think I can round it up or round it down. Doesn't matter. So do you see that there's a difference between E? Because E, if you do E, then guess what? They thought was 2.718 times x. Because they're not looking at, they're not recalling this function. So you have to be very cautious when you're doing this type of stuff. Now this type of stuff, that's what the AP exam doesn't know because they didn't have to deal with decimals at 2019. Yes.
You said if you capitalize the E, it's the same thing as F.
You probably can. Let's try it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you didn't capitalize, that's what the issue is. Okay, because they thought it's E is the number. Okay, let's look at the next question.
If we E to F will we cap that? Will we cap that wrong?
So for me on paper, I'll write down this. Just be careful. Like I'll just write down this, but it doesn't take a long time to write that. But I mean, you can write down long as you address the same thing. It's being consistent. They are fine. But if you change to F, that's not being consistent to the questions. So that's what you probably get yourself in trouble.
If you make a key like PC problems, would that work? Like saying E
You
to
can.
E equals F
Yeah,
plus.
they can accept that, but try to avoid as much of the discrepancy as possible. How much time I have?
3 minutes.
Okay, find the average number of fish. Well, average number of fish. It's like average velocity, right? So that's gonna be integration of what? Average is what? 1 over b minus a, so 5 minus 0, and then the average fish leaving the lake, so we're gonna have to use in the other one, LT dt, right? And then between 0 to 5, and that's gonna be whatever, I think 6 point something, 6 point something, I don't know. Now, they say, at what time is the greatest number of fish in the lake? Greatest number. Does that mean something? The table, right? But which equation I need to type in? You need to write down one more thing. Net rate is equal to rate in minus rate out. Very, very important. And it's equal to velocity as a whole. What do you mean by whole? Is take account into in and out. Okay? So why do you need to do that? Because you need to go in to graph the decimals. And then you're gonna graph, can you guys tell me what's the other equation? L of x is equal to what?
4 plus 2 to the power of 0.1 r
To the 0.1 t squared, x squared, sorry, x squared.
to the third or to the square?
I think square. Like this. Now what I'm gonna do is I am gonna graph E of x minus L of x. Why? Because that's the net. Now greatest happen here, right? Do you see this greatest happen here? I'm gonna uncover this graph. The greatest happen where? right here, right? 6.203. Now, what they say the end time was? They say 0 to 8. But 6.203, that's one of them. So what I'm going to do is I am going to write down the table at 0 and 8. And this one's 6 point what? 203. So it's start at 0 fish at this situation. Start with how many fish? What did you see? 20. Oh, okay. E of 0. Yeah, that'll be 20. So this will be 20, and there will be integration to this, right? Integration of 0 to 6.203, but it's gonna be E of t minus L of t. Is that okay? And the same thing. Now look at your next question. Rate of change of number is increasing or decreasing. Rate of change is the net rate. Increasing, decreasing, that means you had to take another derivative. That means your unit is going to be fish per hour squared. You guys get it? Okay. Huh? How do I know I have to use the net rate? Is it because they say the greatest amount of fish, the fish takes account of what fish comes in and what fish is leaving.